Hi everyone. I'm so happy to welcome you all to the first ever virtual Friends of the Palmer annual meeting. While we'll miss being together in person, it's great to know that we can come together from wherever we are, including me here in Chattanooga. It's going to be so exciting today to hear about the new museum from our director, Erin, and also the architect and designer of the new museum, Brad Cloepfil. As Friends of the Palmer, we are so grateful to both of you for all of your hard work. Thank you both for your leadership and vision that have gone into developing the new Palmer Museum. My term as chair of the Friends Leadership Council has come to an end, but I want to take a moment to acknowledge some of the highlights. Every gala has been special to me, but this year the 2019 gala was groundbreaking in terms of fundraising, so thank you all for that. And also, it was so special to honor Dr. John Driscoll at that event. And I hope you all had a chance to read Chris Lichtig's touching tribute to him in the recent Palmer email blast. Another highlight was last year's annual meeting in which the Friends acquired and purchased Roberto Lugo's Melting Pot 1. This is an important piece for the Palmer, and I know it's a favorite of many of the visitors who come to the Palmer. This year we also revamped the Holiday Arts and Ornament Sale, and we got a lot of great feedback from that, so thank you all for attending and your support on that event. It's also been really gratifying for me and everyone else at the museum to see all the enthusiasm around the Palmer. We've had record-breaking attendance at all of our members-only events, so thank you for your participation. We love seeing you. And thank you all for all your enthusiasm, your friendship, and membership support. It would be wonderful if we could spread that enthusiasm throughout the community. So I want to challenge you all to find or make a new friend of the Palmer. With all the excitement around the new museum, this would be a great time to buy a gift membership for one of your friends. And before I turn it over to Joyce, I want to take a moment to introduce Terry Sowerby as the new chair of the Friends Leadership Council. And Terry's been vice chair over the past year and has served on the Leadership Council for 5 years. And serving with her as vice chair will be Tara Banerjee, who is relatively new to the Friends Leadership Council, but has served on as co-chair of the membership committee for the past year. It's been such an honor serving as chair of the Friends Leadership Council, and I've enjoyed getting to know so many of you. Farewell for now, but not goodbye. Kurt and I will be back in State College to attend the events surrounding the new museum, and we are very excited about it. Again, I'm so happy that we're able to be together virtually for this meeting, and I want to thank everyone who made it possible. I know we're so anxious to hear about the new museum. So now I'll turn it over to Joyce. And I want to say, I'm ready with my Palmertini. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. We're sad to see you go, but look forward to welcoming you and Kurt back to State College and back to the Palmer. Your work on behalf of the museum, your energy, your enthusiasm have been extraordinary. Chattanooga is lucky to have you. I'm Joyce Robinson, Assistant Director of the Palmer Museum of Art, and I want to thank you for joining us today for this celebratory virtual gathering. Even though our doors have been closed, the Palmer Museum of Art staff has been very, very busy working remotely. We hope you're enjoying our bi-weekly e-newsletters, our social media posts, and the online offerings, including lectures and virtual tours available through our website. We have a rich array of virtual gallery talks and a sketchbook series in the works for the summer months. Keep a lookout for that information in a newsletter coming your way soon. And of course, we all hope that we will be able to gather together in person in the not too distant future. Now, please join me by raising your Palmertini. I see you out there, all right. Perhaps it's a glass of wine, a glass of water, a Pepsi product, perhaps. But let's join together as we toast to staying connected in the present, being together in the future, and dreaming about the new Palmer Museum of Art. Cheers.
Cheers.
And now, oh, and I practiced that earlier today. I hope you can tell. I'm delighted to hand it over to our intrepid and inspirational director, Erin, who will introduce our special guest and help lead today's presentation. Erin, cheers.
Joyce, cheers. Cheers to you. Thank you for that festive toast to our future. Elizabeth, thank you for your gracious remarks. We are delighted to see that you are settled into your new home in Chattanooga. We hear positive energy and enthusiasm already, but we're able to know that you're going to stay, that you will continue to stay involved with the museum as our immediate past chair of the Friends Leadership Council. Look forward to your and Kurt's return visits to State College. I also want to thank you, Elizabeth, for your outstanding service on the council and for your many, many contributions to the Palmer Museum over several years. I also want to pause as I'm staring at my Palmertini, I'll raise it again, to thank Barrel 21 and Otto's for coming up with this delicious recipe. We hope you're all enjoying it, and we want to give a big shout out to Barrel 21 and Otto's. Thank you. I also want to take an opportunity to welcome Terry Sowerby and Tara Banerjee to their new roles as chair and vice chair. And I look forward to working with you and the members of the council in the year ahead as we plan for our bright future. I want to take a moment to thank Amber Krieg for coordinating this special virtual presentation, and my thanks to Aidan Voorhees for his work behind the scenes, helping to bring this virtual event to life for you, our friends of the Palmer Museum.
She took us off. Yeah.
Can everybody hear me and see me? Okay.
Can't see me.
Yeah. Okay, I'm hearing some other voices. Is that? I think everyone should mute for the rest of the presentation if that's okay. Thank you. Now you've heard me say it before and I will say it again. Members make museums. You are our friends and patrons, and you are our partners in bringing our mission of teaching and public service to life. We are grateful for your support and friendship, especially now. We believe that the arts are an integral part of a vibrant and resilient community, inspiring us, challenging us, and uniting us in difficult times. We'll come out of this crisis stronger than ever, and we have a bright future ahead to look forward to as we look to our plans for the new Palmer Museum of Art at Penn State. I want to thank you, our friends and patrons, for your commitment to the vision for the new museum and for your belief in the educational benefit and impact of the arts on the students of Penn State, on the lives of children and families in our community, and the quality of life of the residents of State College and the Center region. I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for sharing in the fundamental belief that the arts play a vital role in shaping the culture of our town and gown community and in fulfilling the university's land-grant mission of teaching, research, and public service. With the new museum, we can reach the rising demand of arts integration in higher education, and by doing so, we will showcase how a world-class art collection is an essential facet of a world-class education at Penn State. Today, I'm joined by our architect, Brad Cloepfil, and we're going to update you on the evolution of the design of the new museum. We're going to be sharing with you the latest renderings from the design development phase of the project. We have just completed 50% design development. So what does that mean? We have established the design direction, intent, quality, and characteristics of the new museum. And we'll be sharing renderings that very few outside the project team have seen. As our friends and patrons, you're getting the first look. Before we get started, though, I want to take a moment to express our gratitude to Penn State President Eric Barron for inspiring us with his vision for a cultural destination at Penn State, for all he has done and continues to do to elevate the arts and humanities as a strategic priority for the university, and for his and his wife Molly's staunch support of the Palmer Museum of Art and our new, soon-to-be home in the Arboretum. On several occasions, I've heard Dr. Barron describe this project as, quote, truly transformative for our university and the region. Indeed, the new Palmer Museum of Art will provide transformative experiences for our students, and as a cultural destination, it will enhance the quality of life for the residents of our community, as well as impact the quality of our economy in the center region. As some of you know, it has already had a significant impact on our fundraising efforts. We have reached and indeed surpassed our goal of raising $13.9 million, which demonstrates how museums are very effective drivers of philanthropy. This project has galvanized our friends, donors, and alumni, and it has inspired others to give. Indeed, this is among the most successful building campaigns at Penn State. And the philanthropic ripple effect that you have helped generate is being felt. And this momentum will continue to grow and expand as we advance this project in the months and years ahead. Now, one of the key goals of the new museum project is to provide about twice as much gallery space to showcase our growing collection. In 1993, when the Charles Moore edition that we all know today opened its doors, we had about 3,500 works in the collection. Today, we are nearing 10,000 works of art. And though the collection has increased by 185%, the footprint of the building on Curtin Road has not expanded 1 square inch. So we are bursting at the seams. Indeed, we currently have less than 4% of the collection on public view. And in our new facility, we plan to grow that to as much as 7 to 8%. Now, one of the other key objectives of this project is to design a new museum that is integrated with the natural beauty of the Arboretum, but still retains its unique identity as an art museum while also serving as a cultural destination. In selecting the architect, we were looking for someone who was aligned with these core objectives and who had the track record of connecting architecture to place, to nature, and to the broader campus community. And our architect, Brad Cloepfil, has delivered on this, and I'm so delighted to have him as part of our virtual event today. Brad Cloepfil is an architect, educator, and principal of Allied Works Architecture. He has received widespread critical acclaim for his work on cultural projects and for designing powerful spaces for art and interaction. Among these projects include the Clyfford Still Museum in Denver, the Museum of Arts and Design in New York City, the Seattle Art Museum, and the University of Michigan Museum of Art in Ann Arbor, another Big Ten university art museum. Brad founded Allied Works in his native Portland, Oregon in 1994 and opened a second office in New York City in 2003. The recipient of numerous design awards, Brad has held professorships and lectured widely through North America and Europe. In fact, just last year, Brad was a guest lecturer here at the Stuckman School. Brad earned his bachelor's degree in architecture from the University of Oregon, and he received his master's degree in advanced architectural design from Columbia University. I'd like to add that Brad's work is informed, yes, by his formal training, of course, but even more so by the landscape and history of place. His architecture pairs an intensive focus on the specific character of each project with an understanding of the transformative possibilities of light, form, space, and material. Brad and his team create culturally resonant architectural designs that are forged by the defining elements of their mission and site. This was one of the primary reasons we selected his firm, Allied Works, to design the new Palmer Museum of Art at Penn State. Here to show you the latest renderings from design development and to tell you more about the design of our new museum is Brad Cloepfil. Welcome, Brad, and cheers to you. We're going to start the presentation. Okay, so where's Brad? He needs to unmute.
Sorry, I was visually muted by the organizer too.
Oh dear, okay.
That's what I'm told here. So I am toasting and I am happy to be here from Portland, Oregon. Maybe I'm blacked out as a metaphor for the gray, rainy day it is in Portland. Wait, here I go, start my video. Hold on. I'm trying to start my video. Okay.
There you
All
are.
right, there I am. I'll toast again just to have another. It's a great excuse to have a cocktail at 1:30 West Coast time too, by the way. Okay, let's go. You can go next, Aiden. So I should say, I'll show you some views in the beginning. One of the most exciting things about this project, Erin alluded to in her opening remarks, is that the building can really become one with the landscape. So we've intentionally kept the building low. It's 2 stories, with most of the galleries being on the 2nd floor in natural light, which you'll see in a minute. And really worked to weave it in and integrate it with the Arboretum and the landscape and capture views, create courtyards, and just basically have a kind of intimacy and immediacy of experience. There's 2 museums that were inspirational, one being the Louisiana Museum in Denmark, very famous museum, and another, the Cloepfil Museum in the Netherlands. Take a look at those sometime, and those were really inspirations for this project. Next. Oh wait, I should be more specific too. I'm always so bad at this. I'm sorry, go back. Can you go back one? That's the, so you're looking at the entry court across Bigler, and there's a kind of glass walkway to the left. That's the entrance underneath that bridgeway connector to the gardens, botanical gardens, and then over to the right, that primary glass entrance is the entrance to the museum. Next. And this is from the opposite side, really kind of from down by the event pavilion, the current event pavilion, looking back at the museum, and you see some of the windows and openings looking, I guess, campus north/west out into the mountains, out into the hills. Next. The building, you know, we're in the middle of design development, which is a phase where the concept is set, the character and nature of the building is set, and you're starting to hone in on details. So we are, our goal is to have the building clad in stone tile, and so Pennsylvania is a very, very rich context for stone. We have learned it has basically every kind of stone you can imagine. So we're looking at different local, regional stones to clad the building in. We haven't arrived to any conclusion yet, but we're talking to various quarries across the state. Next. These are the views. I know architectural drawings kind of flattened out if you're not familiar with them, but the upper view is from the Botanical Gardens, the Arboretum side. Isn't that right? Yes, looking back, I even got disoriented there for a minute. And the top view is the elevation from the law school side, looking back. And there's those 2 figures in the center of the image, and that's the entrance to the museum. The education and administration wing is to the left. That's what the bridge connects back to the museum, primary museum on the right. This is a close-up view of that, really the garden facade with the event court. The double height glass is the lobby. you actually, from the entrance court on the Bigler side, you can see all the way through to the gardens. There's a sculpture court on the left with that kind of foggy looking glass. So there's a series of courtyards. There's actually 4 courtyards in the building, which you'll see quickly in the plan, but there's an entry court, an education court, the event court that you see here in the center, and then a sculpture court to the left. So as you walk through the building, you continually get glimpses out to the mountains, to the landscape, to the gardens, continually, and yeah, very, very intentionally connect you back to the landscape. So it really is art and landscape, the 2 things. And then we did a kind of series through the seasons, just to kind of get a sense of the building, sort of dramatic, but it just sits there and glows and nests into the landscape. It's always hard to read plans in presentations like this, but you can see the colors on the left, which are really kind of too fine for me to even tell you what they are, but I'll let you read them yourselves. I hope you can. And there you see up on the top, the entry court. The gap between the education and administration building with the dashed lines is that glass connector, the event court. There are some galleries on the ground floor off the lobby. You see the event room, the museum store, exploration gallery, and then a grand stair kind of in the middle of the image where you go up to the 2nd floor galleries. Next. This is a lobby view, which is actually a very new view we just developed. You look through there to the event court and out to the gardens. And the immediate doorway to the left is the event space. The bridge up there connects galleries and really kind of connects you back to the education administration building. You see 2 doorways, one that goes all the way through the museum, kind of enfilade through the galleries to the right, and then to American Art gallery on the left there. But it's very, very exciting. And of course, this room will have art and tables, and Erin and her group will fill it with all kinds of activities. But this is the first glimpse. We also have a thing you might notice where we bring some of the stone cladding in on the courtyards to blur the boundaries between the outside and inside, so that you actually feel like you're outside of the building, although in the lobby. Next. There's a mezzanine floor. So the education administration wing has 3 floors, and it's farther down the hill. So the topography allows us to have 3 floors that line up on the ground floor and the top floor with the gallery floors. So it kind of squeezed in some additional space because of the nature of the site. Next. And there you see the connector bridge, some of the study rooms, curatorial work rooms across the way, and then the primary gallery spaces. And if you can read those very fine X's on the white spaces, those are double height galleries, which you'll see in a minute. So the lobby is double height, and there's 3 other double height galleries that allow you to see up to the galleries and make connection between the 2 floors. And also it kind of adds a sense of orientation and mystery as you move through. You discover different kinds of spaces and different connections. Next. When we got into the galleries, you know, we were looking for precedent. It's such a unique collection at the Palmer. It has kind of all modes of history and geographies and glass and ceramics and European and contemporary. So thinking of the galleries that we've seen all over the world, and you know, many of the museums we've done for both contemporary art and varied collections, we tried to develop a language for the galleries that can accommodate both, you know, really contemporary work, beautiful contemporary work. And you know, you usually see contemporary work in those kind of austere galleries to the left. And then you usually see historic work in the rather historic galleries you see at the National Gallery to the right. So we're trying to combine that language and kind of allow the curators choices. We'll have galleries of various level of detail, you know, not as austere as the left and not as neoclassical as the right, but kind of learning from the 2. Next. This is a lower floor gallery. Which gallery is this, Erin?
Hi, Brad. Yes, thanks. This is our gallery on the first level off of the lobby, devoted to early American art. So the first half of the 20th century, which is one of the great strengths of our collection at the Palmer.
So it has a level of detail. I mean, we had some images of these with a wainscoting. Some of them have a little cornice trim. There's various levels of details that you'll see throughout this. And you're looking through into one of those glowing double height galleries with light from above. Next. This is one of those double height galleries where you see the fellow standing up on the right. In another gallery, you see a window that he can see clear through this gallery out into the landscape through that window. Brings in glowing natural light. And there you see the wainscoting and some of the detail we might add to scale these buildings to be suitable really for the period of art that's being hung. And it'll be something that can change over time as the collection changes and the hanging changes.
Brad, can I just pause for a second and say this is the gallery. This is what we know as our current Snowis Galleries of American Art. And in the new museum, it will continue to be known as Snowis, and it will feature 19th century American art. So some of the familiar faces in the view behind me of Snowis Gallery that will be on view in this part of the new museum. Thanks, Brad.
All right, next. This is an earlier rendering of the glass gallery. I always have to apologize for, young architects in my office not having the greatest curatorial strengths, but showing some of the glass in a gallery that will look out, will have spectacular views out to the Arboretum and to the mountains beyond. And then an upper floor gallery, which is more contemporary work. So this shows, kind of simpler language of the walls, and then the skylight assemblies, the coffered ceilings that'll bring in the natural light in most of the upper floor galleries, not all, but the majority of those galleries. And that natural light will have controls. We've been working on natural light in museums for the entire 25 years of my career, working with some very sophisticated daylighting engineers. And so it'll have all kinds of light controls depending on the collection and the preservation needs of the art. This shows some of the studies. We could really bore you on a Sunday afternoon, especially with a cocktail. We could put you right to sleep if we wanted. I'm looking at the engineering, but it's a kind of incredible. That diagram on the right shows the annual sky dome and light levels for State College, Pennsylvania. And so we have the actual light data in our hands that we can then modify with the skylight assemblies and the coffered ceilings, which you see on the upper image. That's a cross section through a gallery on the top floor. So it gets very, very technical, but it's very fun, very, very fun to design the light levels for the museum. And then we'll end with the next slide, just a kind of reminder of the scale and texture. I mean, really what we'll do, my closing comment on this, is we're really trying to create a destination, but a destination that isn't based on a fancy, trendy object, but rather a really rich and deep and memorable experience. So really create a place that you want to come back to, and to create a space that students want to hang out in, that just a place they want to be, even if they're not even that excited about art or think they're not interested in art. They still want to be there because it's a beautiful place to be. Thank you.
And Brad, I think we have one more slide. Aiden, is there another slide? We'll go back to these images during the Q&A, but while we have everybody together on the webinar, we thought we would just walk you through the project and where we're at. So you can see that we are halfway through design development. We are planning on finishing design development in late July. We will then begin the process of developing the construction documents, and that takes some time. We will go back in July of 2021 for final approval by the Penn State Board of Trustees, and they will be informed of our progress throughout the phases of this project, of course. Once we receive the final approval, we can begin construction, and we're hoping to open the new museum sometime late in 2023. So thank you, and I think we can start the Q&A now. Joyce, I understand we have a couple of questions that came in from the email invitation.
Exactly. And I do want to say, though, I think it's time for another toast because this is all very exciting. And I hope everybody agrees with me. And thank you, Brad. Thank you, Erin, for your leadership. And cheers. It's almost 5 o'clock. Oh, it is 5 o'clock. Perfect.
Definitely cocktail hour.
That's right.
You are.
Great. Well, so one of the questions that we have is, with the law building so close, what would be the defining exterior architectural feature that will make the new Palmer stand out from the design of the law building?
Mhm. I have a couple of answers to that. Probably the most recognized / famous building I've designed is the Clifford Still Museum, which is a tiny little 28,000 square foot museum next to the enormous Daniel Libeskind designed Denver Art Museum, which is hundreds of thousands of square feet. And when I was asked, how will you make your little building stand out? I said, we'll do it by creating a profound experience. And I think that's really the answer to that one. I mean, the law school was designed to be big and quite ostentatious and assert itself on that side of campus. And we're designing a building that's about different ethics, I would say. It's really about experience more than image. It's about creating something that's enduring and rich and memorable. You will see, maybe you could go back to the very first image.
Yeah, can we go back to the slide that shows the front of the
Yeah,
museum?
the entry. You will see from down on, it's Park, right?
From Bigler. I think
Well,
this is the view we want.
No, but clear down on Park, you'll see the facade to the right. As you come up Bigler, you'll see a facade where we will have signage. So you'll recognize it, we'll light it at night. You'll kind of see a little glow and beacon on the top of the hill so that you know it's there. But the building really will be nested in the landscape. It'll be surrounded by trees, and it's going to take 20 years for those trees to get up there, but it will do that. So you'll definitely see it. You'll know where it is on campus, but it'll have a very different feel.
Great. Erin, this one might be directed your way, I think. How does the design of the building allow for the growth and phasing in of the other campus museums as part of the cultural district?
Yeah, that's a great question, Joyce. Thanks. I think I can answer part of that in terms of the phasing, but I would take it back to Brad, because it is about that. It goes back to the design of the building, and that Allied Works had to take into consideration the future growth of the cultural destination. So Brad, maybe you could talk a little bit about how the design allows for the growth, and then I'll pick it up and talk about the phases. Thank you.
Really the premise of these courtyards, series of courtyards, L-shaped and U-shaped forms, and then connector bridges. The idea, and we spent a great deal of time with the campus planners and landscape architects and Kim at the Arboretum, thinking about that and coming up with a concept that can grow and actually be interconnected all the way through. If you do a new STEM museum, which would be very exciting, that could actually be physically connected with another walkway if the university decided that was desirable. So yeah, that's been in our thinking ever since. Most of the growth will happen towards campus. There's some gallery growth that can happen on the other side of the crest of the hill that we looked at. So
great, thanks, Brad. I'll pick it up from there. So the new Palmer Museum of Art is phase one of a 3-phase endeavor to fulfill Dr. Barron's vision for a cultural destination at Penn State. It was always envisioned as rolling out in 3 phases over time and as fundraising allowed. So this is phase one. Phase 2 and 3 that would follow would include other elements of the master plan for the Arboretum, which includes a conservatory. Perhaps even in the future, there's plans possibly for a planetarium. It would include gallery spaces, including an interdisciplinary gallery where the Palmer can work with our colleagues, the other museum collections on campus to develop exhibitions that are truly interdisciplinary And then it would include galleries and education spaces for the other campus museums and collections and the support spaces needed to operate those as well. So this is a very ambitious and bold vision that Dr. Barron has for us. But again, it will be rolled out over these 3 phases. And the first phase is the Palmer Museum of Art. Allied Works, as Brad said, has developed a design that is very sensitive to that need for growth. And I think Brad would agree with me that that was a large part of our site discussion, which went on for about 6 months, right, Brad? Where we really carefully talked about the siting of the room for the additional collections and museum collections, conservatory, planetarium, et cetera.
Great. Well, as you both know, it's often common to commission an artist to create a piece for a new art museum. Those of us who love the Palmer currently, of course, know that we have the pause out front, and we have the sculptures in the lobby that were designed specifically for that space. So we're wondering, others are wondering, are you planning for a commissioned work for the new museum?
So Joyce, thanks. I will take that one. The answer is yes, we are planning to have a commissioned work for the new museum. However, it was not part of the project budget. So what does that mean? Well, we have to fundraise for that commissioned artist. So we are going to be, so thankful that somebody thought of this question, because we're planning a fall fundraiser. So save the date, October 2nd. We are going to have a fundraiser devoted specifically to raising money so we can commission an artist to create something specifically for the new museum, just as the bronze paws were created for the Palmer Building on Curtin Road. So this would be something akin to that in spirit and intention. And again, we're kicking it off, a perfect question, October 2nd with a fundraiser, and we will be sending out an electronic save the date card in the weeks ahead. So to our members and our patrons, please keep an eye out for that.
Great. Well, Erin, some of us have heard you talk about the Museum of the 21st Century and what you think, we can achieve with this beautiful new facility. So can you talk a little bit about how you envision reaching out to students, and specifically spaces where they might want to linger, or the teaching gallery, or the object study room, and things like that? I'm sure folks would like to hear about that.
Yeah, so maybe, Joyce, thank you. Aiden, could we go back to the floor plans for a moment? That would be helpful in illuminating the answer to this question. So if we go back, yes, let's pause there for a moment. In the education wing, which you see on the right of your screen, in that light blue color, you see we're going to have a classroom space, an education court, and that classroom space will be specifically devoted to hands-on experiential learning for our students at Penn State and for 12 students in the center region and beyond. One of the goals of our project is to greatly expand the K-12 presence, in addition to, of course, serving our Penn State students, which is our #1 priority. We currently have a classroom space in our facility on Curtin Road, as many of you know. But here in the new facility, we will have that space, and it's being designed specifically for this need. And the outdoor terrace or court, we can have classes actually spill outside on nice days when the weather's good, and we can put students there. You'll also see an education lounge. That's another area for students, a place where they can come and gather and prepare for their museum journey. By the lobby, which is the main entrance to the museum, you'll see an exploration gallery, and that is going to be a space specifically designed for children and their families. So you see these a lot today, don't we, Joyce, in art museums? Brad, I'm sure you would agree. These become sort of definitely part of the museum experience, and these are spaces that have typically built-in, so it's not original artwork, it's sort of a built-in interactives for children and families to come and engage with as part of the museum experience. So we are looking right now at developing that space. So Aiden, let's go to the second level, please. Thank you. And we'll just pause there for a moment. Let's go back to the education wing again in that light blue. You'll see study room. That's our new print study room, which we are calling the object study room in the new museum. And that will be where we will bring out works of art for students, for scholars, for faculty, for the community, our pop-up exhibits as we do now in that space, except it'll be larger and it can accommodate more people. And it will be specifically designed for that purpose of that sort of, you know, one-on-one encounter with the work of art. Also, as you know, these will be opportunities to bring out works of art in the collection that are typically in storage, that are there really for the purposes of teaching and study. So this is a space where our teaching mission and research mission really come to life. Let's go across the connector. The gallery adjacent to the connector is going to be the teaching gallery. And teaching galleries have become a staple or a standard for many academic art museums in this country. And they provide a hybrid gallery and classroom for exhibitions that are developed in a very intentional way, in a very purposeful way with faculty as part of their course curriculum. So this is where the content of courses across all disciplines can come to life in the teaching gallery. So I really see the connector, the object or pre-study room, and the teaching gallery all together connected, right, if you will, as representing the heart of the museum, the heart of the teaching museum and higher education, which is, again, so core and central to our mission and to the land-grant mission of Penn State. Joyce, these are just some of the spaces that students will be experiencing firsthand when we in the museum. There'll be other areas in the museum that we are working on through design development that will also be able to kind of gather students. The lobby is another example. We haven't discussed that, but the lobby will be very large and will be able to accommodate students who want to just come over and enjoy the museum, maybe plug in and jump on their laptop and get some work done. We welcome students at the Palmer, and they are part of the life of the Palmer course at Penn State. And again, they're first and foremost always in my mind and thinking in addition to the public and our community. But we're very excited to bring this to life.
Great. Erin, you mentioned storage, and that is a question that has been raised. What are the plans for art storage in the new museum?
Thanks, Joyce. Yeah, so everyone's heard us talk about how we are at maximum capacity and we have no room left in the current facility to store the collection. We are at maximum capacity, again, with almost 10,000 works of art. So we do have a critical storage issue, and the new museum will have 2 spaces dedicated to art storage. So one of the spaces is on this floor plan, actually, next to the object study room. That space to the right, I'm assuming you can see that. I don't know if Aiden can point to it, but that is going to be works on paper storage. So that'll be a very nice sized room with, it'll have specially designed, custom designed storage equipment, compact storage equipment for our superlative works on paper collection, which represents, you know, such a large percentage of our collection. We'll have another art storage room in the lower level of this facility that we're not showing you in the plan today. But below level 1, where the galleries are, there will be a lower level. It'll be a public area devoted to spaces, much needed spaces to support our collection, including crate storage. We'll have art storage down there in the lower level. We'll also have our matting and framing room. We will have our workshop, and we'll have space for our preparators to work, in addition to a freight elevator and everything else we need. We need so much to support our operations, as you know, and to care for our collection, and to do it in accordance with the best standards of our field.
Brad, this question is for you. So I know we're at about 50% design at this point. Can you talk a little bit about what happens in the next half of the project? What's the remaining 50%?
A lot. It's when we really get into detail. We will choose the stone on the exterior of the building, the size and scale of it, kind of conceptually how it's attached. We will choose the window systems, what the finishes are, finalize the proportions of the mullions, you know, the railings, what's the material and finish of the railings, more thresholds. We'll have, we're looking at now metal liners on the thresholds of between each gallery, you know, a lot of detail development, and then material selection, as much as we can to get a comprehensive price at the end of design development before we go into construction drawings, because then you're really finalizing details. And you might change some of the finishes and details of things then, but we're trying to get a handle on the whole thing in the next 4 or 5 weeks. It's terrifying.
Lots to do, right?
Brad, I'd also like to know what's going to make this your favorite building that you've ever designed?
That's an easy one. When I first heard about the project and called Erin up too, you know, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm looking out over the valley out to the Coast Range in Portland right now. I've been attached to the power of the landscape, you know, long before I thought about architecture. I actually wanted to be a botanist at one time. I wanted to be an ornithologist at one time. So that kind of connection to the land has been in my thinking and my work forever. So it's such a rare opportunity to build a new art museum in an arboretum, you know, adjacent to a botanical garden. Yeah, it's kind of a fantasy project of mine. So that in itself, and it's going to be very exciting because we're just getting into the landscape design around the building too. And I can't wait to get into that more with our landscape architects and with Kim.
Great. And I can't wait to see what we do with outdoor sculpture, for instance,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really being integrated into the Arboretum. Well, one last question, and this I think might be for Erin. What will happen to the current Palmer Museum building?
Very popular question, Joyce. Probably one of the most frequently asked questions that I get. Of course, everyone's curious to know what's going to happen to the existing building. And I'm pleased to tell you that the Penn State has formed a task force that is devoted to studying and assessing the use of that building. No decisions have been made as of yet, but I can tell you one thing I know for sure, is that it will be a space utilized for students. So it will be a student-focused space. We look forward to the task force's recommendation, but that is forthcoming. We don't know just yet, but we'll keep everybody informed as we do in our newsletter and our other announcements. So thank you for that, Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I think on that note, Joyce, I guess I will segue to making some closing remarks. Thank you so much for those questions. They all came from our members. You were able to write in before today, and we really appreciate that. And Brad, thanks so much for your contributions and for taking us through the presentation and for your passion and enthusiasm for this project. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation on the new Palmer Museum of Art. And this, our first time virtual event. I think it went off pretty well. What do you think? We look forward to hearing from you on that. Now, while I have your attention, I did want to make a few announcements. I just want you, our members, to know that we are starting to turn our attention to preparing the existing facility that we were just talking about on Curtin Road, our museum, for reopening to the public. And I want to just take a moment to thank you for your patience, for your understanding, as we take the required measures to meet the standards for public health set by the CDC, the Pennsylvania Department of Health, and the university to ensure the well-being and the safety of our visitors, which will always be our highest priority. So I want to thank you for your patience. In the meantime, until we can reopen the facility, We are going to continue our robust online engagement programs and offerings throughout the summer. So we invite you to please continue to stay engaged with us in this virtual space until we can safely reopen the Palmer Museum of Art. On that note, I want to end by raising my glass once again to toast you, our members, our friends, for your ongoing friendship, for your ongoing support. On behalf of the Palmer Museum of Art, my staff and colleagues, we wish you good health and happiness until we can meet again. Thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.